Devil, I'm the D-E, I'm the D-E-V-I, I'm the D-E, I'm the D-E-V-I, I'm the D-E, I'm the D-E-V, I'm the D-E-V-I-L. I'm the D-E, I'm the D-E-V-I, I'm the D-E, I'm the D-E-V-I, I'm the D-E, I'm the D-E-V, I'm the D-E-V-I-L, the devil.
Yo, what is going on, everybody, and welcome back to another fun-filled edition of the Final Word with MattyB here on the It's a Wrap Sports Network. It's your boy MattyB on the call a little early tonight. Not really used to this hour, but I had to come on because I got something I got to do, so I'm not going to be around later on, so I am going to fulfill my obligation. So I come out here and give you the best that I have, regardless of the time of the day. Of course, in the morning, it's a little wonky because I'm not a morning guy, but we're here tonight to give you the final word a little bit earlier, but please accept my apologies for that. I am truly sorry. But tonight we are going to get into some topics. We're going to kind of continue the conversation rolling on the Eagles as we are now into the official preparation phase of the divisional round playoff between the Eagles and the Rams on Sunday afternoon, 3 p.m. at the Link. We are going to talk a little bit more about the Packer game because in the passing days that have followed since the game on Sunday, in a game that I don't know what positivity you can pull from that game offensively for the Eagles other than the opening touchdown drive, or I should say the turnover that they created on special teams and then followed that up with a touchdown, and then maybe the Saquon Barkley performance down the stretch. But there's a big, huge gap from the first play of the game up until Saquon Barkley took it over in the fourth quarter of offensive ineffectiveness. It's ineffectiveness. And we're not spending enough time on that topic. It's being talked about, but then it's being whisked away like it doesn't exist, like it's sort of a one and done type thing. It's a blip in the radar. So we're going to get into where I think that once again, the radical left homers, and not even them anymore. I think it's a lot of Eagle fans are in a position now where they're actually starting to wish away things and believe the hype around this football team. And I think it's smoke and mirrors. I still do. I still think this team is not as good as what they've been playing. And I think they've been lucky. I think they've gotten their fair share of luck this year. So we're going to get into kind of that and maybe a little bit more about what they have to do to correct the situation heading into the game against the Rams. We're going to get a little bit into the Rams, but I got to save a bulk of that for Saturday because Saturday is when we're going to do the Birds Blast this week. At 2 o'clock on Saturday afternoon, me and Kyle will be on to kind of break down this game, the X's and O's of the Packer game and then the X's and O's of the Rams game. So we're going to get into that. We're going to go back through the hot stove, kind of update you on some minor moves that have happened. There are still some names floating around out there, Major League Baseball-wise. As we're getting danger close now to the start of spring training, 30 days. We are officially 1 month away from the start. 30 days, 30 calendar days from the start of spring training in Clearwater. So we're getting to the end of the hot stove phase, and still some big names floating around, and maybe or maybe not some of those names might be attached to the Phillies. We'll discuss a little bit of that. We got our program segments of the night. The other night segment, the Phillies all-time roster segment, and, of course, our card review segment, all those things. And, yes, the leadoff segment, which we do every night here on the program, is your day in Philadelphia sports. All this kind of compacted into one fun-filled hour of fun and games here on the It's a Wrap Sports Network on the Final Word with MattyB. And I am happy to be here on this very, very, very beautiful Wednesday night. Oh, yeah, we also might talk Flyers. I did not really have an opportunity for last night, kind of doing the Flyers, watching the Flyers game as I was on the air, and then watching Sal kind of do the post game. Kind of a disappointing game, if you ask me. If you're a Flyers fan, last night was one of those games coming off of the Panther game that you really were kind of licking your chops for. This is a team in the Blue Jackets that are not as good as the Flyers. I mean, they're in the same sort of boat the Flyers are in, but the Flyers have handled the Blue Jackets with ease over the last few seasons. This, to me, was an easy 2 points to build off of the hard 2 points they got against the Panthers the night before. But the Flyers were not, was not to be for the Flyers. They lost in a shootout last night, 3-2. So maybe we'll jump a little bit into Flyers talk. And, of course, the big story on the day, 30 days away from spring training. That's right. That's my big story, man. Baseball is almost back. God, I can't wait. Can't wait. So let's get it started tonight. Let's go with our day in Philadelphia sports history. It's a fun segment we do every night, no matter what the sports fact. It could be anything from baseball, football, basketball, hockey, all the way down to the most obscure of sports. But if it happened and it affected Philadelphia in a positive, negative, or a way that's history worthy, we're going to talk about it. And tonight, our day in Philadelphia sports history centers around the year 1965, because on this day, January 15th, 1965, the Sixers were in the news. Yeah, they were in the news on this day. And, of course, they're in the news a lot, too, these days, but we're not necessarily going to talk about them. But on this day in 1965, the Sixers did something positive. Yes, I know it's hard to believe that, but they did. They traded Connie Durkering to the Golden State Warriors. I'm sorry, I misspoke. Not the Golden State, but the San Francisco Warriors for the return of Wilt Chamberlain. That's right. So Wilt Chamberlain on this night, possibly the most, is he, do you put him above Dr. J in the all-time Sixer category? Is he the most influential Sixer player of all time? Is the big three Doc, Iverson, and Chamberlain in any order? I mean, what order would you put those big three? I still put Doc up there as my most influential Sixer of all time. I mean, I think he was what the Sixers needed at that time. He was a face of a franchise. He revolutionized the game, but you could also say the same thing about Wilt, right? But I'm going to go with Doc because of history bias. I didn't watch Wilt Chamberlain play. Again, contrary to popular belief, I'm not 119 years old. I didn't watch Wilt Chamberlain play. Of course, I heard everything about it and all the off-the-court stuff too, which to me is more than his on-the-court stuff. But I got to put Doc up there. I'm going to put Doc, Iverson, and Chamberlain. And maybe that's the wrong list and the wrong order. I don't think it's the wrong list. I think those are the top three undisputed most influential Sixers of all time. I know Joel Embiid was hoping that one day he'd find himself onto that list, but I don't think he is or will or deserves to be there, which is all another reason to be very disappointed in how this thing is somewhat fallen off a cliff for the Sixers. And, you know, it's becoming increasingly evident every day that it's time to start over again. And I don't know how they're going to do it, honestly. I really fear for what the Sixers are going to fall into and what the prologue of the process is going to be. But that's a conversation for another day. But Wilt Chamberlain on this night back in 65 was traded back to the Sixers, which, again, benefited the Sixers a lot more than it did the Warriors. Of course, the Sixers would go on and win the World Championship in 1967, which was, I guess, about 2 seasons later. And, returning Philadelphia's favorite son in some aspect to his roots of Philadelphia and back to Philadelphia. Of course, he moved with the Warriors when they were the Philadelphia Warriors, and they moved out to San Francisco. Wilt went with them. But on this night back in 65, he was traded back to the Sixers in possibly top 5, top 2, top 3 greatest trades in Sixer history, as they got Wilt Chamberlain back for seemingly pennies on the dime with the player they sent out there. So there you go. Your night in Philadelphia sports history, brought to you by the good folks here over at the It's a Wrap Sports Network, and all we do for you, because we are inclined to make this the most influential moment of your day and be the most influential network in your sports listening / viewing life. That is the goal here. The goal is to do that. And I know the road we're traveling, many have gone before, and not too many have succeeded. And I understand the arduous trip that we are on. And trust me, if anybody understands that more, is me, because of my polarizing personality and the amount of MattyB time that I'm getting, the amount of camera time I get might be considered a little biased. But hopefully soon, and in February with Mike Lauro joining the network, we're going to start getting more people here. Obviously, it's about a counterbalance to the balance, right? I'm not looking for MattyB clones, of course. That's not what I'm looking for here. I'm looking for people that have their own opinion and are passionate about that opinion, regardless of what that opinion is. But then, of course, let's have a debate about it as well, because that's what we do here. Anyway, but yeah, so please, with all that little, I think that was from the heart, man. That was like a heartful rant there. Please like and subscribe on all the platforms that we are kind of streaming out on, and give us a big old thumbs up, because we definitely need it and we would really appreciate it. So there you go. There's my sponsoring plug, or my beg for the night. Maybe I should make that into a segment. The beg of the night. Go on, guys. But all right. Yeah, I gotta do those things, man. I gotta pay the bills there. But all right, let's move on into the main topic for me tonight, as it has been, and it probably will be for the rest of my life, until my demands are met with the Philadelphia Eagles. Hashtag free the Philadelphia Eagles. Big story coming out of the Packer game on Sunday is not necessarily. I guess there's like three big stories that I'm kind of getting a vibe on. I'm vibing on from the Packer game. Story number one was once again the play of the defense, and how they sort of, they were dominating at times, but the Packers moved the football with a depleted offense and depleted personnel. But losing Jenkins for the Packers there early in the game greatly enhanced the Eagles' defensive ability and truly opened up the floodgates and kind of got Jordan Love right off his game, right off the very start. So that is a story that is not really necessarily, and then the Kobe Dean thing is kind of sandwiched within the defense. And then the byproduct of the Kobe Dean story is Jeremiah Trotter getting potential opportunities this coming weekend in a potential platoon situation with Burks at linebacker. So that's a story in itself, the defense. The second thing, I think the second biggest point of this game, the second biggest story that I'm getting the vibe on, has got to be the A.J. Brown situation, right? It's got to be the A.J. Brown thing, because I find it very funny. And I hate the political size of any of this stuff, and I hate to go down that road. But when there's a section of the fan base, and you know who I'm talking about, I don't have to say their names, but you know who I'm talking about, when there's a section of the fan base that has such a adversity to any kind of negative exposure. I've said it multiple times throughout the years, and I will continue to say it until the last breath is out of my body. There is a big part of, and it's not just indicative to the Eagles, it's all the four majors, all four major sports teams, the radical side of their fan base. And when I mean a radical, I like to consider myself a radical as well. I'm a radical fan, but I'm just kind of different about a lot of things. But the radical homers have to think, or it has to be in their mindset that everything off the field, off the court, off the ice is hunky-dory, as well as on the field, court, and the ice. And I don't understand why that's such a big correlation for them. Why that is such a big part of the overall, like they gotta believe that these people like are best friends in life, that they hang out together after the games and practice. They go to parties together. They sit and talk on the phone like a bunch of teenage girls together. I don't really understand why there is such an infatuation about that relationship between the players and themselves on these teams. And anything that casts a dispersion upon that, anything that upsets that apple cart for these radical homer fans, it's such a trigger to them. It's somewhat comical to watch and see it as it kind of unfolds, and how they try to just tamp it down. like suppressing information, like suppressing speech. Yeah, I'm going to say it. They want you to shut up about it. They want to shut you up about it because you and of course I'm meaning me in one regard, are now working against destroying a narrative that they have concocted in their minds about relationships that these players have with each other off the field and court or ice. And I've said it before, they don't have to be best friends off the field. They don't necessarily have to do that. It's a job for them. Playing football, playing hockey, playing baseball, playing whatever is a job. They're getting paid a lot of money to do it. But it's nothing in the contract that says, I got to personally like you. And there's nothing in the contract that says, I got to go and hang out with you and spend all waking hours of the day with you. There's nothing about that. But yet it's such a big sticking point to a lot of Eagle fans that there has to be that personal bond between them. And to understand or believe that there's something other than that really hurts them, really upsets them. And I would love for someone to explain why it is that way. Why do these fans, why are they so ravenous about that? And on Sunday, the Fox camera guy, and I don't know who his name was, and I'm sure a lot of Eagle fans, are, especially probably people that are employed by the Eagles, are searching out his name as to make sure that never happens again. Got a glimpse of A.J. Brown sitting on the sideline reading a self-help book. I don't know the title. I'm probably the only one in Philadelphia who doesn't know the title of this book. I don't care to know it. But reading a title, a self-help book, a motivational book, on the sidelines in the middle of a playoff game, in a game where the Eagles were struggling on offense, and A.J. Brown himself had not received, 3 targets and 1 reception throughout the whole game. And there was a lot of talk about whether or not he was engaged or disengaged, or he didn't feel like you wanted to be there, or why was he there reading a book? Now, I could take possibly, and nobody has commented on it that I've seen. Nobody has asked the question straight up, why was he reading a book? I know the question was asked to Nick Sirianni, who said it was because he was trying to stay. He supports, I believe, is what he said, and I'm paraphrasing. He supports anything that the players do to keep themselves engaged positively in what's happening on the field. So I guess that was the address that was given. I don't know if anyone's questioned AJ about it. I'm sure. I haven't seen anything, and again, I'm not really looking for it, but I haven't seen anything. You would think that would pop up, but the radical left homers want that little section of film. When that moment, and I said it last night, when that moment happened, I know they were on the sideline, or people, thousands, millions of people at their homes were yelling at their TV sets and looking skyward into the heavens, asking for, why God, oh, why God, did Fox just do this? Because now it creates a narrative that goes up against their narrative that A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts are not friends, because A.J. Brown is supposedly looking at a book to keep himself from, I guess, losing his mind, throwing a tantrum, having an adult fit, whatever. I don't know what exactly was going through these homers' minds. And they wanted immediately to address it by only saying, there's no story here. Well, if you're so quick to say there's no story, that to me means there is a story, but you don't want to know it. That there is something to this, but yet you don't want to go down that rabbit hole because you don't want another shade to be opened up about how potentially dysfunctional this locker room might actually be, and how a personal relationship between A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts doesn't exist as much as people would like for it to be. There's been multiple instances throughout A.J. Brown's time here with this team, with this quarterback, that have definitely lent to the fact that they don't like each other. And I'll put it to you out there like that. And then the biggest telling part of that occurred just a few weeks ago at Chickies and Pete's during the Brandon Graham, Howard Eskin, all that kafooey. That was centered around because Brandon Graham was airing out the truth about A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts' relationship, and somebody on the Eagles did not want that said, and then wanted Brandon Graham removed, and then, of course, that all led to what it all led to. So I personally don't care that they're friends. I personally don't care that they get along. I don't personally care whether or not they drive to work together, spend their weekends. I don't give a damn. To me, it means nothing. They go to work, they punch their time card, they go and they play, they hopefully win, and they move on about their lives. But the fact that there's such a large portion of the fan base that doesn't want to make this a story, because no one's really they're talking about it in passing, but they're very, very, very specific about not stopping and spending time discussing it because they want it to go away. Why? Why can't we talk about it? Why cannot we talk about it? Why can't we talk about it? It's a story, right? It does lend into some of the narrative that I have about why I don't believe this football team will win the Super Bowl. Because I believe there's a lot of dysfunctionality on the team beyond personal relationships. So that's my second major story coming out of this game. What is all this? Anyway, what the heck is that? I'm sorry, I'm reading something off screen here, guys. Give me a second. All right. Anyway, here we go. I'm back. The lead story for me, the lead story in this is definitely, and it was coming into this game. It was before this game. Hang on. I'm still dealing with this. Hang on. Just a weird comment there. All right. My number one takeaway from this football game is the play of the quarterback once again. And what I've heard over the last 48 hours, straight up justifying the play. I've heard everything from the biggest one I've heard, of course, is the Russ thing. And I thought losing the football game, the Eagle Homer radical left would come out with the whole Russ thing. That was I think they were preparing that excuse for the loss, but they're using it now to explain why Jalen Hurts wasn't sharp on Sunday. And again, I referred to this last night. A lot of talk has been, well, why was the play calling so vanilla? Why was the play calling so suspicious? Why were the receivers running routes the way they are running? Why weren't certain plays called for Jalen Hurts in this game? And I really took offense to that because and the big thing I hear is the quick hitters and the slants. Where in the hell have these quick hitters and slants been all season long? Not just in Sunday's game or lack thereof in Sunday's game, but they haven't existed all season long because there's just no confidence in the quarterback to perform and pull these types of plays off. All right. Jalen Hurts is he's not an elite quarterback. He's being paid like an elite quarterback. And again, I'm going to get to the homers in a second. He's being paid like an elite quarterback, but he doesn't perform like one consistently. He's performed like an elite quarterback for one season out of his entire career. And that was 2 seasons ago, going on 3 as we move into 2025. And I've heard every excuse under the sun about why Jalen Hurts had struggles on Sunday. I heard he's rusty. I've heard it's Kellen Moore and the play calling. I heard it's what one I heard yesterday was a really good one, that even though the Eagles were only up 10-3 going into halftime, they felt so confident in winning the football game that they turned off the playbook and ran a vanilla style deep offense to get them through the rest of the game, as to not tip their hand for this week against whoever they were going to play. That's probably the most inane, nonsensical excuse I've ever heard to defend a average to a little bit above average quarterback's play in a very pivotal game, one and done scenario. I couldn't believe my ears when I heard that you're telling me that going into halftime up by 7 points was enough to make you feel comfortable to say, you know what, we're going to stop running any kind of creative plays. We're just going to kind of sail all the way through this game and win. You know, I don't understand. And again, this is not my takes, man. My takes are legitimate and factualized based. These takes are crazy town. Then, of course, there was the weather at Lincoln Financial Field. It was allegedly windy down there on the field, which I'm sure it was. It's always windy there in this time of the year, but yet it affected Jalen Hurts' ability to complete the specific pass on the fake tush push. It was the weather that affected him. Of course, the biggest one is the rust. The biggest excuse I've heard is the rust. Nobody talks about the performance. Everyone's talking like this performance from Jalen Hurts on Sunday was a one and done situation that is a blip on the radar. What are you looking at that I'm not looking at? This is the same type of Jalen Hurts performance we've been seeing most of the season, or I should say most of the games since 2022. I think the biggest question needs to be now is what we got to do to get him out of it. No one talks about throwing the ball to the middle of the field anymore. I heard somebody tell me the reason why they didn't throw the ball in the middle of the field, I heard it last week, was because of the injuries of Dallas Goedert. What? The injuries of Dallas Goedert are the reasons why the Eagles don't throw the ball to the middle of the field. Right. Okay. That absolutely makes no sense. Right. Jalen or Kellen Moore's playbook is predicated with the quick hits and the slant passes and all those things. Jalen Hurts does not do those things because I don't know if he's not allowed to do them. They don't feel comfortable with him throwing them. I don't know what the reason is, but it's not because Dallas Goedert has been hurt. Is the reason why they're not throwing the football to the middle of the field. They threw the football to the middle of the field 48 times the entire season. 48. Attempted like 400 passes, and only 48 of them were targeting to the middle of the field. On Sunday, Hurts attempted 21 passes, only targeted 4 of them to the middle of the field. Nobody can give me the real answer why they don't throw the ball to the middle of the field. You know why? Because it doesn't support the radical left homers agenda about their quarterback. And again, there's nothing wrong with Jalen Hurts being considered an average to above average quarterback. Nothing. I've always maintained he's a starter in this league. Yes, indeed. Is there quarterbacks better than him? Absolutely. Is there different quarterbacks I like to see here? Absolutely. Is this an okay situation for now? Yeah, absolutely. It's okay. But paying him $1.6 million a game to perform like he did on Sunday, and then give him every excuse under the sun to justify that, other than the excuse or the real justification is that he just is not that talented, kind of just bothers me. And again, I'm the problem. I'm the one who has hate when I don't make up stories to get myself to sleep at night. So the play of the quarterback, the defense / the injury to Nakobe Dean, and the A.J. Brown ongoing saga are the 3 biggest takes I'm pulling out of this game on Sunday. And there's a lot of subplots and there's a lot of sub-stories that we could probably talk about. But now we got to turn the page and look at the Los Angeles Rams, who come into this game winners 7 out of their last 8. Fresh off of a victory against a team in the Minnesota Vikings that a lot of people that I've spoken to were really more scared to face in the Rams. I disagree. I would have much preferred the Vikings. Because Sam Darnold is, Sam Darnold. Matt Stafford's a Super Bowl winning quarterback. McVay's a Super Bowl winning coach. Jalen Hurts is a national championship game quitter after being benched, and Nick Sirianni lost in the Super Bowl. So I would much prefer to go up against a coach and a quarterback in Minnesota that are pretty much the same as the coach and quarterback here in Philadelphia when it comes to their winning pedigree. But now we got 2 guys in McVay and Stafford who know what it's like to win in those big games. But the one lingering question about the Rams to me is of course the run defense. The fact that Saquon lit him up for 255 yards. I think he accounted for well over 300 yards of total offense in the Week 12 game against them out in LA. Are the Rams going to be able to mitigate that? They better pray they are, because if they give up another 300+ yard performance of Saquon Barkley, this game will be over by the second quarter. And you're going to know, I think, early on in this football game. I think you'll definitely know early on in this game how the game is going to go. I really do. And heading into the game, Rams come into the game a little bit clipped as well. They're dealing with some injury issues. Tyler Higbee, their starting tight end, is questionable. He had to leave the game on Sunday. Bobby Brown, their nose tackle, again, questionable heading into very early on in this process Wednesday. And Witherspoon, their cornerback, also head into Wednesday listing as questionable based on their statuses from last week and the game. So they're clipped up too, but the Eagles are equally clipped up with losing Nakobe Dean. Again, last night I referred to Nakobe Dean as one of I was about to go back. I was about to give him the H, man. I was about to give him the hit status on the Howie Roseman big old draft board. I was about to give Howie credit for pulling a hit in the third round of the 2022 draft. I was, but then he got hurt, and I can't do it because what's been the biggest problem with Nakobe Dean is they can't keep him on the field, and now he's off the field again, and who knows for how long this time. So the Eagles come into this game clipped. Slay's clipped. A.J. Brown, the aforementioned, 3 targets, 1 reception for 10 yards. He's clipped heading into this game on Sunday. So the Eagles are not necessarily walking into this game clean. You got also Jalen Hurts. Is he supposedly, or is he still dealing with concussion symptoms? Is he still dealing with some like the residue of that concussion? I really haven't heard that excuse much, but it was the big ones that I heard, the rusty one, the weather, and a conspiracy theory that the Eagles took the foot off the gas at halftime, up 10-3, because they thought they had the game in hand and they didn't want to tip their hand, which is probably the most ridiculous theory I've heard in a very long time from a very, again, I'm the crazy one. I'm the one who needs to get his head checked out. I find it very interesting. But all this is going to create a big old perfect storm on Sunday in Philadelphia as the Eagles will battle the Rams in the NFC divisional game. And, of course, on the other side of the aisle is going to be the Lions and the Commanders out in Detroit in the other side of the NFC divisional matchup. And then the winners of those games will face each other next weekend, either in Philadelphia or in Philadelphia, Los Angeles, or Detroit in the NFC Championship game. So in the following week. So obviously we're getting into it now, and the Eagles will find themselves, and they've earned an opportunity to be in this game, and let it ride. And don't forget, be back here on Saturday at 2 p.m. That's right, Saturday at 2 p.m. for the Birds Blast with Kyle Quinn. I will be chatting with Kyle. We'll be breaking down this game. We'll talk a little bit more about the Packers, and we'll get you ready for Eagles Rams on Sunday. So make sure you're back. All right, let's move on. Let's talk a little bit about the Phillies. Let's get into the hot stove because, as I said, we're 30 days, mark your calendar away from the start of spring training. And Phillies are running out of time. There are some big names still hanging out there. But let's get into our hot stove report, maybe one of our last ones that we do. All right, this is the It's a Wrap Sports, or the more specifically, the final word with MattyB's hot stove report. This is where we kind of take a look at the hot stove, latest and greatest rumblings and grumblings, kind of just kicking around, see if anything jumps out at us. Let's get it going. The Giants have claimed a former Met right-hand pitcher, Austin Warren, off waivers, so he's now a Giant. Blake Sobel, the catcher, is heading to Boston from San Francisco. He was traded for international bonus pool money. Blake Hunt, the catcher, going from Baltimore to Seattle for cash. Brett DeGauss, the right-hand pitcher from Toronto, is now a Pirate as he was traded for some cash considerations. And Michael Arias from the Cubs to the Yankees for cash. And there you go. As we're getting kind of into the bare bones of the hot stove, and that's your latest and greatest update. Let's look, of course, to some of the names that are still floating around out there, some of the bigger names. Alex Bregman remains teamless, 30 days out from training camp. You got to think that something's going to give soon with Alex Bregman, don't you think? Anthony Santander, again, also teamless, 30 days away from training camp. 44 home runs and 102 RBIs last year for Santander for the Orioles. Pete Alonso, Mets staple player, still teamless, 30 days away from the start of training camp. Jack Flaherty, starting pitcher, formerly of the Dodgers, also a free agent still. Tanner Scott as well, still hanging out there in free agency. So some pretty big names still looking for work in 2025. We talked a few nights ago on this program about an alleged report linking the Phillies and Alex Bregman together. The Phillies were allegedly, in this report, looking to finalize a deal, or big players prime players in the Alex Bregman sweepstakes as they were looking to try to finalize the deal. But because of the Alec Boehm trade situation, they weren't going to do nothing until they moved Alec Boehm. So we'll see if that is still happening. But again, there's some players that are floating around out there that the Phillies could definitely use. Alex Bregman, not big fan of, wasn't really in on the whole Alex Bregman thing at the beginning of the offseason. But as this offseason has kind of unfolded, there's been some things and some inactivity and some other activities from other teams that have gotten me excited about doing anything to make a splash. And you know what? I'll take Alex Bregman at this point. Yes, he's another power hitter. So is Santander. So is Alonso. If we're going to make a move for any player, it's going to be one of these guys because they're the only ones left. I believe Alex Verdugo also is still a free agent. I think he is. But yeah, I mean, give me something here, man. Give me something to hang my hat on. 30 days out from spring training. So there's your Phillies, or not your Phillies, but your MLB hot stove report on this January the 15th. As I mentioned, we might be wrapping that up as we're getting danger close to spring training. Can you believe that? I'm looking out my window today and there's snow on the ground, and 30 days from now, you'll be hearing gloves, balls slapping leather, and bats and balls hitting each other in 30 days from now. It's absolutely stunning. One, the longevity of the baseball season is a beautiful thing. And two, with baseball or the return of baseball, even in February, even in spring training or pitchers, catchers prior to spring training, what it represents, of course, is a renewal in life, that summer and warmer weather are coming, and that it's going to be, once again, those hot, humid nights down at Citizen Bank Park, rooting on the Phillies for hopefully another World Series run. And, of course, it's one of the greatest times of year. I've always said this too. People ask me, well, what's your favorite time of the year? Well, it's actually a period of dates that I like. I used to say it was from Memorial Day weekend through January 1st. I said that time of the year used to be like, boom, that is my time, right? But then as I got older and I got more, stuck in my ways, I started to realize that it's not Memorial Day weekend. No, it's opening day of baseball. It's the opening day of baseball through January 1st is my favorite time of the year. Everything about that time is great. And, encompasses all my favorite seasons. April is, it's quintessential spring, but summer's right behind it. And then, of course, autumn and then the holidays. So I changed it about 5 or 10 years ago. And when asked that question, what is your favorite time of the year, MattyB? It is the opening day of baseball through January 1st. So 30 days away at this point from the Phillies reporting down the Clearwater to get this thing rolling, with or without any other big name free agents, with or without Alec Boehm playing third base, and a lot of questions, a hell of a lot of questions, if you ask me. There wasn't really much answer this offseason, and I think there's going to be a lot of questions and some splaining to do down there in Clearwater if nothing else is done by this team as we get started for the spring training period. And I guess a question that we can start kind of putting off to the side or getting ready, are the 2025 Phillies better than the team that walked off the field in 2024 against the Mets in the NLDS? And I think the answer to that question is no, they are not. They may actually be worse because of they may not be. They've lost some people. Trevor Hoffman, Estevez is probably going to go. They've lost some people, and they haven't adequately replaced them with a lot of question marks. So that conversation is coming, and I can't wait to get into it. But with that being said, let's get into our Of the Night segment. All right, this is the Of the Night segment on the program. This is where we take a moment and we talk about a Phillies draft target or MLB draft target, NHL draft target, a Phillies prospect, a Flyers prospect, or we spotlight a player from the Phillies or Flyers, depending on what time of the year it is. And we also talk about Phillies prospects or Flyers prospects. I don't know if I already said that. So tonight, as mentioned prior, we are into the new year. So that means we're kind of going out a little bit more broader in this. It was specifically designed, we were fixated on the Flyers prospects, but now we're going out deeper. Last night, I think we did our second MLB draft prospect of 2025. Tonight, we're headed back to the National Hockey League for an NHL draft prospect, and let's take a look at him right now. You might see the name as being familiar, but here you go. Caleb Desnoyers. Of course, you might recognize that last name as, he goes by the name of Elliot Desnoyers. That's the Flyers prospect. This is Elliot's younger brother, Caleb. Now, Caleb, who's currently with the Moncton Wildcats of the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League, 6'2", 179-pound centerman. He's opportunistic and gets open pretty well. He involves himself in the play. He can carry and hold pucks on play or play off of his line mates in give and goes. He's got a real feel for the game offensively, and he's consistent. While he's not a dynamic skater or individual creator, and with limited time and space. So if you're looking at Elliot and Caleb, Elliot's got lesser abilities offensively than his younger brother. All right. Caleb's got a little bit more of an offensive plus side. Now at center and at 6'2", that is optimal for me. All right. I can live with a 6'2" centerman. 179 is a little bit on the lighter side, but we can always put weight on him. He projects right now to probably be a mid to lower first round selection. Looking at him around that 15, 14, looking at him right around the time the Flyers would probably be drafting one of their picks. Is he a viable target for the Flyers, seeing how we already have his brother? Now, his brother is struggling. He was taken way back in 2020. He's currently with the Phantoms. Just doesn't seem to be able to get put together for the Flyers. I believe Ian Lapierre going into the season, I remember listening to some of the training camp buzz. He was one of the players the Flyers really wanted to see take a step forward this season, and I don't know if he did, because he didn't even sniff the NHL. He's back down there in the AHL, seemingly a permanent fixture with the Lehigh Valley Phantoms. I'm not saying that you shouldn't draft Caleb because of Elliott's sins. I'm not saying that. Two different people. But this is a type of player that would be available, kind of where the Flyers would be selecting in the first round. Now, does he scream too much like a role player? Does he look like a number one centerman or 1C, like we like to say, the first line guy? I would say at this stage of his career, he's not. But who are if you project mid round of the first round? Does he have upside to be that? He does. I think he's got the frame for it. 6'2". I'm digging that. Again, he probably put on another 10 pounds for my liking. Is he a legitimate target for the Flyers in the first round? I say he is. I say he definitely is. Now, there's a danger to this because Jetlachenko, who basically is this guy, but a lot faster, you're looking at maybe a third, fourth line type situation, potentially second line. He's not a 1C. Well, let's get that out of our minds right now. He is not the guy that's going to alter the franchise and be the next, anchor of the first line. He's not. But he could provide a scoring touch on that second line. He could also be involved in helping, potentially pairing up him and Caleb, MattyB Michkov, and building a line for Michkov. Because I said this heading into the season, one of the knocks about bringing Michkov in this year to me was we haven't properly assembled a line yet for him. We're plugging and playing Michkov. I think the Flyers got to seriously look at building a line for Michkov in this year's draft. And I would not be adverse to Caleb Desnoyers as the centerman on maybe the second line of the Flyers' future. Again, he doesn't, to me, project to be a 1C. He's more of a 3 or 2C. And we have a lot of those right now on the team, but he does have a very, very good positive offensive upside. Let's talk numbers for him so far. Through, I believe it's 34 games. Through 34 games with Moncton, he's got 23 goals, 33 assists for 56 points and a gaudy, absolutely absurdly gaudy +39. Come on, man. They're scoring a lot with him on the ice. So I plus 39. What the hell is that, man? And he also was a member, and something that you should take a look at. He did go to the WJC, but not with the big boys. Next year, Caleb Desnoyers will probably be a fixture on Team Canada in the World Juniors. So there you go. There's our of the night segment. We're back in the NHL draft with Caleb Desnoyers as a potential Flyers target in the first round of next summer's draft. So there's the first player that I can legitimately say that the Flyers could have interest in, and more importantly, he could be there where the Flyers will be if the Flyers have interest in him. So there you have it. There's our of the night segment on this night. Back to the NHL draft. That feels good. Caleb Desnoyers. That's right. Elliot's younger brother. All right. Let's keep the segment thing rolling along, and let's get into the newest segment that we introduced you on the program last week. Yep. MattyB's all-time Phillies roster. So many times I've been asked, MattyB, who is your Phillies all-time roster? What is it? And I honestly, have, throughout my years, have always had to think of it on the cusp and be like, bang, 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 bang. So I figured, you know what? With baseball bearing down on us, 30 days away from spring training starting, with all that happening, and I noticed coming home from work today, I'm a substitute school teacher. For those of you who need to know, it's one of my many hats that I wear in my life. That's what you would consider my day job. I'm retired. I'm semi-retired, but I do work as a substitute school teacher. And as I was driving home today, I realized a couple things. One, it's looking a lot lighter outside. And I don't mean by time of day, because it was like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And it should be light at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, but it just looked a little bit more. The sky was a lot more bluer. It wasn't death cold. It just felt a little different. It felt like we're wearing through winter, and that's a good thing. And then tonight, I had to go out and pick up my stepson at 4:45 and bring him home from basketball practice. But by the time I got back, it was like around 5:30 because I had to stop off and get dinner. And it was at 5:30, it was still somewhat light out. I mean, no, it was getting dark, but I could still see light blue in the sky. So those are great early signs that summer is coming, spring is coming, baseball is coming. So why not at this time of the year debut this segment and introduce my all-time Phillies roster? Because after we roll through this, I'm also going to do my Flyers all-time roster after this, which will coincide with the Flyers quarter-century team. Not that we've planned this like that. I'm not like the Flyers asked me what my plans are on a night-to-night basis, but that's what I did. But let's get into the Phillies part. We've already done a couple positions. Let's recap what we've done. Here's my all-time first baseman. I could not come up with one. You can call me what you want. You can say what you want about me not being able to pick between the two of them, but you try picking between Pete Rose and Ryan Howard. I had a hard time because, one, I have physical memories of both of them. I watched both of them play for Philadelphia. And I know as a young kid, even then, when I was watching Rose play in the late 70s and the early 80s, how influential and important of a part of the Phillies' success of those teams back in the late 70s and early 80s that he was. And he is Pete Rose, for God's sakes, the all-time hits leader. And, of course, how could I not give Ryan Howard the nod because of what he did in his time here? Obviously being a key part, the big piece, so to speak, of the 2008 and that 2007, 2011 run that we went on. So I could not, in good conscience, sit down and say, it's Rose, it's Howard, it's Howard, it's Rose. I said, the heck with it. I'm going to go with both of them. So there you're my all-time Phillies first baseman. On the second base, this was a lot easier because there's hands down. A lot of the next three, second, shortstop, and tonight's position are somewhat hands down. There wasn't much thought put into these. These are pretty obvious of who these players are. There's nobody who did second base better for the Phillies ever in the history of their franchise than Chase Utley. And he's on the Hall of Fame ballot for the second straight year. Again, the results come out, I would say today, tomorrow, soon, next week. So we'll find out real soon if he gets in. But no brainer there. Shortstop, again, A no-brainer for me. Nobody did it better on the position of shortstop for the Phillies in their history than Jimmy Rollins did. And again, a pivotal member of that 07 to 11 dominant run of Phillies history, which then leads me to my position for tonight, and that is third base. Yes, third base. Maybe I should have done this one first. Maybe I should have gotten this one out the damn way, because obviously this is probably the most obvious position that anybody is going to see or talk about. My all-time Phillies third baseman, of course, is none other than number 15, Rick Shue. That is right now. I'm just kidding. Of course, it's number 20. I mean, why are you crazy? I'm going to go with somebody other than this. The greatest third baseman to ever play baseball, the greatest third baseman in Phillies history, the man himself, Michael Jack Schmidt, 1972 and 1989, 2,404 games, a career batting average 267, which I think is a testament to the end of his career, how bad he got. 2,234 hits, 1,595 RBIs, and of course, magical 548 home runs, and an OPS of friggin' 908. That was his OPS. Are you kidding me? 9.908. Other career accolades for the greatest third baseman ever played baseball. What are they? 12-time All-Star. He was the World Series champion in 1980, a 3-time NL MVP, World Series MVP in 1980, 10-time Gold Glove winner, 6-time Silver Slug Award winner, 8-time home run leader, NL home run leader, 4-time NL RBI leader. He hit 4 home runs in a game in 1976. His number was retired by the Phillies. He's been hung out to dry on the Phillies Wall of Fame. He's also been named to the Major League Baseball All-Century team and also the Major League Baseball All-Time team. And he's a 1995 inductee, first-year ballot to the Baseball Hall of Fame. Is there anybody seriously better than what Mike Schmidt did for the Phillies in the years that he played here? It would be a complete travesty and a disservice for me to say any other player than Mike Schmidt to be my all-time third baseman. I would have to hang up my microphone if I could even question that Mike Schmidt was the all-time best third baseman on the Phillies. So there you go. A no-brainer tonight. My third baseman of all time on my all-time Phillies roster, number 20, Mike Schmidt. And tomorrow, or actually we won't be back tomorrow because I got post-game duties, but when we come back on Sunday, we will head to the outfield. And we'll finish it up, of course, with catcher and then our starting rotation, which we'll do all in one night. I won't do one pitcher a night. I'll do all 5 in one night. And then our closer will finish off the entire segment. So we're getting through it. We got our infield. Now we're heading to the outfield. So just to recap, the infield, first base, Ryan Howard and Pete Rose. Chase Utley at second, Jimmy Rollins at short, and Mike Schmidt at third base for my all-time roster so far. And I think it's a pretty fair assessment, personally. I've heard some arguments supporting John Kruk in the first base role. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think John Kruk comes nowhere near to what Pete Rose and Ryan Howard did. But let's roll on with my favorite time of the night.
Looks a little something like this. Looks a little bit like I can't miss. Hey, this is what you call a bad. What? This is what you call a bad. What? Looks a little something like this. Looks a little bit like I can't miss. Hey, this is what you call a bad. What? This is what you call a bad.
Yep. It is our MattyB's card review segment. This is the time of the show where we take one of my very vast amounts of trading cards, sports cards from my collection, and we just kick it around, talk about it, go over some facts about the player if you don't know much about the player, and discuss the greatness that is sports cards and sports card trading. One of my fondest memories of last summer, and I don't know if you want to if you want to make fun of my life for this, but one of my favorite moments of last summer was sitting in this very room here, some nights till 2, 3 in the morning, sorting cards to organize them and put them in a collection. It brings back fond memories. Maybe it was the summer baseball and all that, but tonight we're staying on baseball. I think last night we did baseball too, right? Yeah, we did Griffey and his absolute hero card. We're staying in baseball tonight, and we're staying in the 90s, actually. We're going to go into the 90s for a player that I hated when he played, a team that I hated he played for, but you got to give the man his props because nobody might have done better at his position than anybody ever in the history of baseball. And so that leads us to tonight's card, the 1996 Bowman rookie Derek Jeter card. Yep, the captain himself. Got to give it to him. Derek Jeter probably in my adult life, and Jeter came on the scene in 95. Was it 95? No, at the end of 95 is when he actually played for the Yankees. He came up in the, for the September call-ups in 95. The Yankees were not, I believe they weren't a playoff team in 95, because I know in 95 was the Braves and the Indians in the World Series. I'm not certain. No, he probably wasn't. Or maybe he was. I don't know if the Yankees made the playoffs that year. I don't think they did. But 95, he was a September call-up, played a few games, was instilled as the starting shortstop in 96. And then the rest after that is what they call history. This is one of the jewels of my collection, so to speak. This card ranges anywhere, depending on what database you're looking at. I've seen this card in this condition right here. This is a base card. It's not a refractor. It's not a foil. It's the base card from the 96 Bowman's Best set, Derek Jeter rookie. And it ranges anywhere between $50 on the lowest end that I could find it, and up on the high end, somewhere upwards around $2,500, depending on if you had it graded. I saw a PSA 10 that somebody was trying to sell for $2,000. I saw a PSA 9. I've seen various amounts of PSA 9 cards in the upward ranges of between $120 to $500. I've seen some of the refractor cards in this card up to about $700-800. There's just a range of cards, ranges of prices with this card. Again, the lowest I saw it was about $50 for a base card like this one is, and the highest I saw was somewhere around $500-600. So this is my card of the night. Now, Derek Jeter, as I mentioned, I could not stand Derek Jeter. I hate the Yankees. I hate Jeter, but you can't take away what the man did. 14-time All-Star. He was a 5-time World Series champion. Won the World Series MVP in 2000 in the Subway Series. Was the AL Rookie of the Year in 96. 5-time Gold Glove winner. A 5-time Silver Slug Award winner. 2-time Hank Aaron Award. Was the Roberto Clemente Award winner in 09. Had his number 2 retired by the Yankees out there in Monument Park. And he was inducted in his first year of eligibility in 2020 into the Hall of Fame with 99.7% of the vote. God damn. So, like, one person didn't vote for him on his first ballot into the Hall of Fame. So it's hard for me to take away from that. It's hard for me to cast aspersions upon what he meant to the Yankees and their success, especially through the mid-90s all the way until his retirement. Of course, he was part of that baseline of players that would come in and take the Yankees over the top. One of the greatest things growing up when I did was the Yankees sucked. All right. They were terrible. After 81, when they lost to the Dodgers in the World Series, the Yankees fell off, and they fell off for a lot of years. And there were some players that came through New York, and Don Mattingly is one of them. That was truly great at what he did, but really was a victim of being with a bad organization. And for about 10 years, from about 85 to about 95, the Yankees were terrible. They started kind of coming out of it a little bit in 94. Then the strike happened in 95. They were a little bit better. And in 96, they were able to put it all together and go on that run of just dominance in World Series. What they won it in 96, they won it in 98, they won it in 99, they won it in 2000. I mean, they three-peated. Who the hell three-peats in Major League Baseball? Then it kind of fell off after that. They won it. Actually, they didn't win it again at all until they beat the Phillies in 09. But you can't take away what Derek Jeter meant to that organization and what he did in terms of pushing that team over the edge back into dominance. And there you have it. There's my card of the night, the 96 Bowman's Best Derek Jeter. And here it is in its physical form. Again, all my cards are raw, meaning they have not been graded. But what I see from this card, I see very good centering. I see sharp edges. I don't see any dispersions on the picture. It's a nice clear image on the back, as you can see. I'm put it there so you guys can see it there. It's a really good condition card. I say at least a PSA 9. I have this card currently listed on eBay for $150. So Maybe I get 150, maybe I get 1,000. Who knows? But we'll see. But there you have it. My card of the night, the 96 Bowman's Best, Derek Jeter. And that's going to take me to the end of another great show. And I want to thank everybody for contributing. There was like really nobody here, but hey, it is what it is. I hope you catch us on the replay, and please help us out. Give us a like, give us a subscribe, give us a thumbs up. Really appreciate it. We talked a little bit about tonight about the fact that the Eagle fans out there that I have heard are still trying to make excuses for why Jalen Hurts played poorly on Sunday. Seemingly forgetting about the entire season of poor performances and sort of centralizing to his only poor performance of the year being on Sunday. I've heard excuses that range from the rusty to the weather to the conspiracy theory that the Eagles took their foot off the gas because they felt the game was in hand, leading 10-3 at half. All that. I've heard it all. But I have not heard many people give credence to the fact that Jalen Hurts is just an average to above average quarterback, because the homers of this town will not allow it, and they don't want to believe that they have the wrong quarterback. I also am astonished by the lack of coverage that the Jalen or the A.J. Brown reading the book on the sidelines has received from the media, locally, nationally, all of it. Everybody wants to wish that away. And it lends into the narrative that homers in this town don't want you to think that there's anything wrong with the culture of this football team, which, to be honest with you, a personal relationship between the quarterback and the wide receiver, them not being friends, whatever, has nothing to do about culture. We got a bad culture on this team, I'll give you that, but that's not the reason. But they want to wish it away. They want to wish that story away. So we're not giving it credence, and they probably are cursing the day that the Fox cameraman caught A.J. Brown reading that book on that sideline, because now it sent the entire radical left homer population into panic mode about how to recover from this and bury the story and make the story go away. We're not going to talk about it because there's nothing to see here. And then my third major takeaway from the Packer game has got to be the play of the defense once again. And more importantly, the injury issues with Nakobe Dean. That's keeping him away from receiving the much coveted hit status from MattyB, about a member of the 2022 draft class. I can't give him a hit if he doesn't stay on the field. And it's his hit status is in question. And I have a feeling that he's going to go down in history as the Jordan Hicks kind of player that just could not get it together because of injuries. And then what's probably going to happen is he's going to go somewhere else, and he is going to get it together because he doesn't get injuries, a lot like Jordan Hicks. So we went over that. We talked a little bit about the Rams. I'm not going to get too much into the Rams game. We are going to do the Birds Blast on Saturday at 2 p.m. Make sure you're back for that. That's Saturday at 2 p.m. Me and Kyle will break down the Rams game. Look back one last final time on the Packers and break the Rams game down as well. We went over some hot stove stuff. 30 days from today. Pitchers and catchers will report to Clearwater. God, I can't wait. So we talked some hot stove. We did our of the night segment highlighting NHL draft prospect Caleb Desnoyers, which is the younger brother of Elliot Desnoyers of the Flyers or of the Phantoms. We talked about how I believe Elliot will be available in the middle part of that first round, and he does fit the mold of a 2 or 3C, which, yeah, I guess we got one of them, but we could probably build. But you take him there in that first round, he's got a really positive upside on his offensive game. I say take him if he's there. So we talked a little bit about him. He was our of the night segment, our draft prospect for the NHL. We did our of the night, or we did our new segment, the all-time Phillies roster. It was a third base tonight, of course, Mike Schmidt, and our card of the night, which was the 96 Jeter rookie. So we crammed all that into an hour. That's pretty impressive. Remember, tomorrow here on the program, I will be back, not for this show, but for the Clear the Ice program, as I have post-game duties tomorrow night. Flyers, Islanders. Be back here about 10 o'clock or whenever the game ends. And we'll take you through the post-game and then get you ready for the weekend. And, well, of course, on Sunday, there it is. Divisional round, Eagles, Rams. The Birds fly by. Sal G will have you, and we'll have some fun with that as well. So looking forward to the rest of the week. Looking forward to the weekend. Looking forward to another great Philadelphia sports weekend. And I hope that you guys have a good rest of your night and an even Better tomorrow.